Welcome to our You Decide 2025 coverage of the Birmingham mayoral election, and specifically your chance now to hear one-on-one from 8 of the candidates for Birmingham mayor. They came to join me in our studio. We asked them the same 3 questions. They each got 3 minutes to answer each of those questions and provide you with their insights on topics we know are important to you, that you have said you care most about. That is public safety, that is recruiting companies and jobs and keeping homegrown educated workforce in the Birmingham area, and investing in your neighborhoods in the Magic City. So you're going to hear each of these candidates address those topics, and we've got all of them lined up for you back to back here, so settle in. Your chance to hear from all those Birmingham mayoral candidates starts right now.
Your community, your elections. WBRC You Decide 2025.
And we at WBRC committed to giving you all the information you need for Election Day, and that's why I've invited all 9 Birmingham mayoral candidates here to answer questions most important to you. And joining us today is State Representative Wanda Gavan. Ms. Gavan, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
We've got 3 questions. We have not given you, of course, ahead of time. Same with the questions we're asking of all the candidates. You'll have 3 minutes to answer each of those questions. The first one is about public safety. Both the reality of it and the perception of it in Birmingham has been a challenge of late. What would a Gavan administration do differently to both improve the reality of public safety and its perception?
The first thing I'm going to do is tell the public the truth. And the reality is that the City of Birmingham Law Enforcement Police Department is down nearly 600 or 700 police officers. We must share with the public the total number of sworn law enforcement officers. And once we get past that real reality, then we're going to deal with all of the levels of crime, not just from the perspective of saying that crime is down from where it was last year or that killings were down. Birmingham, in many regards, now is known as Killingham and Murderham. That's a name that no city should have to have or be called because of the lack of the number of sworn officers to properly protect the city, number one, and its citizens, but also because of the number of killings that has taken place. In the last 8 years, Birmingham has seen nearly 1,000 deaths due to senseless gun violence and did not stop to act until last year after such fierce advocacy. And I have to say for myself that this administration did anything. So my plan is this. It's simple. It is called the Birmingham Protect and Serve Community Policing Act. We're going to create a true community policing act that will deal with crime prevention, de-escalation training, not just for officers, but also for citizens as well. We're going to also do a plan that is individualized for each neighborhood. Why? Because every neighborhood in Birmingham is unique in its own way. There are cultural differences within these neighborhoods, 99 neighborhoods in 23 communities. So we're going to work on a plan that fits, and especially in those high crime areas. We're going to reinstate substations. Those substations will be manned until we get enough officers' boots on the ground with those officers who have retired within 1 to 5 years. We're going to bring back stronger beat programs, as well as the policing programs as it relates to youth athletics. So why am I going to do that? Because then we are creating partnerships within the communities. Also, we're going to also deal with not just the de-escalation, but we're going to deal with mental health issues that impact families during crime-involved confrontations or domestic violence. So all of those things work hand in hand. Not every call should be necessarily handled by law enforcement. It's very taxing on our officers, and then I'm going to build back the morale of that department. Birmingham, as I've said, has lost nearly 700 to 800 officers over the course of the past nearly 8 years. Right now, they're fluctuating between 450-ish, not quite 500 officers. We're going to deal with the fact that just because you see a rookie class doesn't mean that the numbers have gone up, because the problem is typically within 1 week, someone is leaving, retiring 5 to 8 officers. So we're not even doing a wash on the number of officers.
That's our time on that question. Thank you, Ms. Gavan. Now to the second question involving jobs and the economy. How would your administration recruit more jobs to Birmingham and also retain the students who graduate from post-secondary education in this area but have elected to move elsewhere to start their careers?
First of all, it all works hand in hand. Right now, Birmingham, there's still a stigma over Birmingham that this city is not quite safe. We saw many companies leave. Last last year for that reason. Also, we have to create a cultural shift in the type of jobs that we bring to this city. Listen, at the end of the day, people go to Atlanta and California and New York because of the cultural differences and all of the different jobs that they have to offer. For instance, tech jobs, things of that nature, jobs in fashion. You have to change the mindset of the people. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on bringing jobs, but we're going to have to bring an anchor tenant into the city of Birmingham. What does that mean? That means we will have to bring some company that has such a big brand name, that is a large employer, no differently than Amazon, but it needs to be somewhere centrally located within the city center of Birmingham. Why? Because that sparks interest. But also, we're going to have to deal with better job training, job readiness programs to help our college students when they get out of college. Because sometimes people think that you graduate and you just go straight into a job. You know, I'm a lawyer. Well, the training for lawyers are a little bit differently. We are somewhat to agree self-made, but we still are in the practice of law. So with that being said, we're going to bring in companies where we're going to create the partnerships. Birmingham has to create partnerships. Costco is coming to Irondale, but we have Eastwood Mall that's just sitting there. But there's a reason why these companies are not landing in Birmingham. First of all, you have to have an attentiveness from City Hall to sit at the table to negotiate the deal, to enter into MOUs, but certainly to allow the general public also an opportunity of those young, up and rising sensations here in Birmingham to have a seat at the table to talk to you about the type of jobs they would like to see here, and that could be a part of the recruiting process as well. And not only the young college student or whoever it is, it should be a part of our process. Period. Let's talk about what's good for Birmingham. What do we need, and most importantly, where does it go when it comes here?
Finally, our third question is a topic you sort of touched on a little bit earlier, and that is the issue of the perception, often in mayoral races, that the 99 neighborhoods perhaps feel slighted sometimes when it comes to blight, abandoned homes, weed abatement, sidewalks, et cetera, paving, compared to the downtown business district. How would your administration make sure that those neighborhoods are invested in while also realizing the significance of keeping downtown a thriving hub?
Birmingham has long been the tale of two sides or two cities or what have you. Listen, there is no secret, and I'm telling everyone, even my friends, take a field trip. Go to Inslee. If you live in Forest Park, go to Inslee. If you live in Crestline, go to Pratt. If you live in some parts of Crestwood, go to Riley, Roosevelt City, Woodlawn, parts of Woodlawn, Winona, Gracilla. These are communities and neighborhoods within the city of Birmingham. They look like war zones. It is unacceptable. It's not an issue of whether I'm taking better care of my property. These are city services that are or should be delivered to everyone. So for me, my thing is I'm going to create a better neighborhood program. I'm going to change the name from just our neighborhood associations. We're going to change the name to the NAP, and it's the Neighborhood Advisory Participation Partnership Program. Why am I continuing to talk about partnerships? Because Birmingham needs to do better by way of communicating with its citizens, all citizens. And with that being said, we're going to restore that $10,000 that the neighborhoods used to get, but we're going to also make them true stakeholders. We're going to incentivize them to further assist in the neighborhoods. And that is important. And again, NAP is important because of the level of incentives that we're going to attempt to employ. If you bring in and allow for neighborhoods to be treated equally, you do better as a mayor. And I'm also, with that being said, on Fridays, I'm going to have a real talk, chat and shoot every Friday with anyone who wants to make an appointment with me, because I want to make sure that the services in all neighborhoods are being rendered through 311 or whatever the mechanism is. It is unacceptable for calls to go unmanned or return 3 weeks out, a month out, trash, brush, litter, debris, potholes, dilapidated housing, overgrown lots. All of those issues matter, and it should matter that the grass is cut on the west side no differently than the grass is cut on the south side. And I'll close with this. We saw it last year with the mass killings. There had already been 2 mass killings. Not one news station beyond just a few days after North Birmingham, after the 4 young men that I knew were killed on Center Street, the discussion went dead. But when it happened on the South Side, so that is the reality. The whole world stopped in Birmingham because it happened at Hush Lounge. So for me, the realization is I worked under Richard Arrington, and that was one of the strongest policies and procedures and practices that he had to ensure that the neighborhoods, all neighborhoods, are treated equally. And one could make the argument that that's not the case, but again, take a field trip. And if you would let me finish, I just want to say one thing. When I say field trip, I have friends that live in these areas that are taken care of, that do receive those 7 key essential services of street and sanitation, libraries, roads and transportation, and all of the other ones combined, parks and rec. But at issue is there are 99, but for them the bar is set so low because they get everything they want. But I want to make sure everybody gets a fair seat at the table.
And that's our time. Thank you, ma'am. Again, our election day begins August the 26th at 7 a.m. The polls continue on until 7 p.m. Make sure you go vote and then check out WBRC's coverage on our WBRC.com site and the WBRC News app. And we'll be live first at 9 with all the results.
Your community, your elections. WBRC, you decide 2025.
And we're committed to giving you all the information you need ahead of Election Day. That's why we invited all 9 mayoral candidates in Birmingham to answer the questions most important to you. Joining us today is incumbent Mayor Randall Woodfin. Mr. Woodfin, thank you for joining us.
And thank you for allowing me to be with you as well as your viewers.
3 questions we have not provided in advance. We'll give you 3 minutes to answer each of those before we wrap up. The first one concerns the perception and the reality of public safety. It is something that has plagued Birmingham for a long time. How is your administration continue, perhaps in this case, to address the reality of public safety in Birmingham and the perception that follows that?
Look, I've been on this show long enough, or enough times, to share with you and your viewers the truth about where's crime in Birmingham. I'm happy to tell you in the shortest way, and then I'll explain it. Crime is down, police recruitment is up. Starting with crime, I think we've talked enough about gun violence in this city, in this state, and in this country. But I am happy to tell you gun violence is significantly down. Homicides are down over 50% in our city as of to date. And that is important as it relates to saving lives, less mothers crying, less families having to bury their loved one. It's all about what we do to protect people and remove violence out of our community and streets. The number one way you do that is by having more officers on the street. I'm happy to tell you since January 1, we've hired over 100 officers. In addition to that, we've just graduated the largest class in 14 years, August 8th, of 48 officers. And I'm also happy to tell you that the next class that starts August 18th will have one of the largest classes the city of Birmingham has ever had in our city's history. What does that mean? Post-pandemic, people want to be police officers. Birmingham was no different than any other cities post the pandemic where there was an officer shortage nationwide. But I'm glad to see us be on the other side of that. With more officers on the street, there's more presence, more patrol, focused deterrence from the Crime Commission recommendations, new Police Chief Michael Pickett leading with this 8-point crime plan. All of these things, as well as our violence reduction initiatives with street teams, decreasing retaliation, all of these things, the Restore program, all of these things have led to a decrease in gun violence, have led to a decrease in homicides, and have led to the opportunity for people to not only feel more safe, but are safer.
You mentioned opportunity. The second question focuses on economic development, recruiting jobs, and also recruiting students who go to secondary education here and then decide to go somewhere else to fulfill that career. How would you continue to try and recruit jobs here and keep our graduates in the Magic City?
That is an amazing question, and one I'm excited to answer. One, I want you and your viewers to be excited about something that Birmingham has made national news for. Just recently, the Wall Street Journal named Birmingham, Alabama, in the top 5 cities in our country, in America, where college graduates who finish come to. College graduates are moving to Birmingham to live, to work, to start a family, to have a life. That's a big deal. And only 4 other cities can claim to be in the top 5. And so we have to see and we have to acknowledge the wins. That is a huge win for our city. That is a huge win for our community. But also sends a signal to what's going on positive in our economy. We have strengths in our economics here. One being the innovation, biotechnology, healthcare industry. UAB continues to not only be the #1 employer in the city, but the state. With our biotech designation, what we want to do is be in a position to hire at least 10,000, create 10,000 more jobs in the next decade in biotechnology, healthcare, and innovation. You also have advanced manufacturing here that is doing very well, but you also have financial services that's driving a lot of the next generation college graduates to want to live here. But let's not forget we have the Birmingham Promise, which now to date, 5+ years, has sent 2,000 Birmingham high school graduates to college tuition free. What that program does, in addition to providing job opportunities in the form of internships, sends a signal to employers that they can hire our ready-made graduates, not just from high school, but from college, and bring them home. The combination of keeping our talent as well as attracting our talent bodes well for our economy. And so we are definitely trending in the right direction. But we got to add one more thing to that. Birmingham City Schools this year, for the first time in 30+ years, saw an increase in our school enrollment. That sends a signal that our school system is doing better, sends a signal that families want to live in our city, and it sends a signal that our city's population is growing.
Let's talk about that population. The third question centers on what is oft repeated, a divide between those 99 neighborhoods and the downtown business district, and the balance between. The perception or the criticism has been at times those neighborhoods are ignored at the benefit of the downtown. How would you promote growth in the neighborhoods, address blight, abandoned homes, potholes, things like that, while not also abandoning the success of downtown?
We have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm happy to tell you and your viewers that we created the Neighborhood Revitalization Fund. So to be clear, in the 7+ years I've been mayor, we have spent $114 million in street paving. That is more combined than my 3 predecessors altogether. My 3 predecessors, Mayor Bell, Mayor Langford, and Mayor Kincaid, that's a total of 15 years that they served. In our 7+, we've spent more than they have in that 15 on street paving. To be exact, we've spent that street paving in 93 of the 99 neighborhoods. We have 6 more to get to. So we spread the love throughout. Sidewalk repair, we spread it throughout. Blight removal, over 2,000 blighted structures removed throughout the city. Wherever they are, that is spread throughout the city. Supporting education and Birmingham Promise spread throughout the cities. What we want to do is continue to take care of the basic services and amenities in our cities. Supporting our libraries, supporting our parks, supporting our recreation centers. We do all of that. We've done it with ARPA dollars. We've done it with our general fund. We've done it with surplus dollars. And look at the other things we're doing, going after competitive federal grants to land more opportunities, such as the Neighborhood Choice Grant, which is a $50 million grant that allows us to put 900 new affordable units in the Smithfield community, which are the neighborhoods of Graymont, as well as Smithfield and College Hills. So yes, we've spent about $25 million in neighborhood revitalization to stabilize. That's blight removal and weed abatement. But we spent $16.6 million for new home construction, critical repair program for existing homeowners, and down payment assistance for new homeowners in these same neighborhoods, with new housing going up in North Pratt, in Bellevue Heights, in Smithfield, in Woodlawn, and other neighborhoods. And so our focus is simple, and we're committed to all 99 neighborhoods.
Mayor, thank you very much. A reminder to our viewers that Election Day comes up on the 26th. It begins at 7 a.m. Polls will close at 7 p.m. And after they do, you can follow those election results live on WBRC.com and our WBRC News app, where you can also live stream our coverage, which starts first at 9.
Your community, your elections. WBRC, you decide 2025.
And we at WBRC are committed to giving you all the information you need for Election Day. That's why we've invited all 9 Birmingham mayoral candidates to come here and answer some of the questions that are most important to you. Joining us today is Mr. Jeremy Littlepage. Mr. Littlepage, thanks for being with us. For our audience, let me just lay out quickly. We're going to ask all of the candidates the same 3 questions, which you have not learned of ahead of time, right? Our producer inside the booth will be keeping the time 3 minutes per question for each of these candidates, and we will begin the first question, Mr. Littlepage, with the question of public safety. There is both the reality and the perception of public safety in Birmingham that it is a challenge. Can you be as specific as possible in what your administration might do differently to improve both the reality and the perception of public safety in the Magic City?
So first of all, my administration will focus more on mental health awareness, because a lot of problems start with the mind first. In our communities in Birmingham, all 99 neighborhoods, we have a lot of people going through stressful situations, and they have a lot of friends and family members who've been killed due to gun violence. And so how we can appropriately take steps moving forward with that, opening free to low-cost mental health facilities, and that'll be better for the communities.
Excellent, Mr. Littlepage. Thank you, sir. Second question is jobs and recruiting companies to Birmingham. How would a Littlepage administration improve the Birmingham region's ability to attract jobs, to attract candidates for those jobs, and grow the economy that way?
So I'm an advocate of trades and trade schooling because I have an HVAC certification and I'm universally certified. I want to put trades back in the schools, like high schools. And so that way we can train the kids up early enough to where they can get out and already have an apprenticeship on their belt, and that way they can just get a job in the field that they're trying to get into. And also I want to encourage like the big corporations like Coca-Cola, UAB, to hire, more local, Yes, sir.
And finally, the third question for you. Every mayoral election cycle tends to get some complaints from the 99 neighborhoods that make up Birmingham and their neighborhood associations about feeling overlooked sometimes when it comes to reducing blight, redeveloping empty lots or old and abandoned buildings, and complaints that perhaps more focuses on the downtown business district than on those neighborhoods. What would your administration do to try and make those neighborhoods feel seen, feel redeveloped, while not ignoring the economic engine that is downtown?
Yes, sir. So that's a great question. That's actually why I'm running for mayor, because I was one of the residents who always complained about the roads and the blight and the overgrown lots. So I'm taking matters in my own hands. But also, I know for sure, working closely with the neighborhood association and the presidents there and all the communities, they know what the communities need, and they know how to solve these problems. They have the answers. All I have to do is just listen to them. So what the difference between my approach from being the mayor of Birmingham is I will listen to the citizens, and I'll listen to the residents and listen to their comments and concerns, everything that they need to be tended to. Because a lot of the people say the same things, and a lot of the elected officials, they know what needs to be done, but it just, the attention doesn't, go on the people. Yes, sir.
Mr. Littlepage, thank you so much for your time. We want to remind our viewers that Election Day is August the 26th. If you're going, polls will open at 7 a.m., close at 7 p.m., and we will be your local connection for the results that night. Make sure you've got the WBRC News app. Joining us for coverage beginning first at 9, even before when those numbers are posted on our WBRC.com special page and WBRC News app, where you can find all of our You Decide 2025 coverage.
Your community, your elections. WBRC You Decide 2025.
And we at WBRC are committed to giving you all the information you need to make your decision on Election Day. That's why we invited all 9 Birmingham mayoral candidates here to answer the questions that are most important to you. And joining us today is Ms. Marilyn James Johnson. Ms. James Johnson, thank you for taking the time to join us today.
You're welcome. We'll
give you 3 minutes to answer each of our 3 questions, and then we will conclude there. Questions, of course, that we didn't share with you ahead of time. For our first question, the question involves public safety. Both the reality and the perception of Birmingham is that public safety is still an issue. What would your administration do to try and change both the reality and the perception of safety in Birmingham?
Well, as far as safety, I would try to change it by going together with the police, Birmingham Police Department, and I would do an initiative called Put Down the Guns, Pick Up the Bible forum. That consists of people that's carrying guns or whatever, they would take their guns and they would drop it in a box or whatever, and then it would be a side where there would be Bibles that they can pick up. Because my theory is it's more ammunition in the Bible from Genesis all the way to Revelations. And one thing about it, you don't have to feel bad about it, because God said, "Vengeance is mine," says the Lord. So, and then as far as other safety, as far as traffic or whatever, the people have been complaining so much about bumpy roads, their cars have been torn up and different things like that. We would have the roads paved, first time around, because a lot of times I see the same roads being paved over and over and over and over again. But we'll get it right on the first time. And then also where I live at, I see places where there need to be street lights at, you know, before it becomes an accident or either something more treacherous, you know. So to avoid anything bad happening, we can rectify the situation ahead of time than after the fact of it happening. So that would be what I would do as far as safety and everything.
Ms. James Johnson, thank you. Our next question comes to the economy and recruiting jobs. How would you improve Birmingham's ability to create jobs and to keep recent college graduates who go to school here to live here and fill some of those jobs?
As far as creating jobs, we would evaluate each person to see what they qualify for, and then we would match them to those positions. And another thing is, you know, as far as me, I you know, help the homeless. I'm a homeless advocate, but I try to help everybody as much as possible. And one thing I have seen when I was down there was parents coming into Birmingham to drop their kids off, you know, and they live all the way in Texas, and bringing their kids all the way down here to Birmingham. They was fearful of leaving their kids, you know, because it seemed like Birmingham have a bad reputation, and it's making parents feel that you know, that they're frightened to leave their children behind. But what we told them, don't look at Birmingham as a fearful place. It's a good place for her to be at. She's gonna be safe. We gathered around, we prayed, and after we had that prayer, they felt more comfortable with their daughter staying and going to college here in Alabama. So it's gonna be a lot. And then another thing that I would like to do, being that I'm an entertainer, I love singing and different things. We could, my thing is for everybody to come together and showcase their gifts and talents, because it would be a sad situation to have gifts and talents that God has given us, and all that those gifts and talents wind up in the grave instead of being used to glorify God and to help others here on earth.
Mr. Johnson, thank you. Our final question involves the complaints of some neighborhood associations. They often complain that the focus of the city is on the downtown business district and not on the 99 neighborhoods that make up the rest of the city. What would your administration do to try and empower those neighborhoods while also not ignoring progress downtown?
Well, as I said in one of the forums that we had, my thing would be is to get all the neighborhoods together, and every neighborhood will have a ministry, you know, a prayer ministry, you know, where everybody just come around and just pray or whatever for their community. You know, because it's just been so much crime going on in all of these communities everywhere like never before. And Birmingham has never been this bad. I mean, I'm a country girl. I'm from West Blockton, Alabama. But I have lived in cities. I have lived here mostly, and I have also lived in the city of Boston, Massachusetts. But like I say, this city has never been like this before. And my goal is to help bring Birmingham back to life, because Birmingham do need to be resuscitated. And if God can use anything or anybody, I pray that He use me to make a difference here in the Birmingham area, because my life is a living testimony. Last year this time, I was homeless. I was living out at George Ward Park. But look at God. God gave me another chance. I've been praying for this for 3 years, ever since my mother passed away in February of 2022. for some reason, I just felt like I want to run for mayor of Birmingham, simply because my mother was my inspiration in our hometown. She was blessed with the key to our hometown, simply because every time something went wrong in our neighborhood, she would always get her complaints, the neighbors' complaints, and she would go down to the mayor's office to talk to him about it. Once he gathered all the complaints together, he'd have some of the guys to go out to see what was going on. They'll come back, get the areas or whatever people complain about, get it rectified, fixed up, straightened up, and therefore my mother was blessed with the key to our hometown of West Blockton, Alabama. And I say, if my mother, which was a 11th grade dropout, and she dropped out of school because she got pregnant with me, I said, if she can do that, then I know me, her oldest daughter, I know that I can do some great things too, because the apple do not fall too far from the tree. My goal is to first of all, continue making God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit proud of me, and making both of my parents from heaven that's looking down on me, making them proud of me as well, along with our city of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you,
So
Ms. Josh. I'm sorry, that's our 3 minutes. Thank you so much for your
Okay.
time. And a reminder to all of our viewers that Municipal Election Day is coming up on August the 26th. Those polls will open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. And when they do, we'll be your local connection for all the results that night. Make sure you've got the WBRC News app where you can live stream the results and join us beginning first at 9 for those election results.
Your community, your elections. WBRC, you decide 2025.
And we at WBRC are committed to giving you all the information you need for Election Day. That's why we've invited all 9 Birmingham mayoral candidates here to answer the questions that are most important to you. And joining us today is Mr. Frank Woodson. Mr. Woodson, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be asking you the same 3 questions we have of all the candidates, 3 minutes for each response, and then we will allow you to watch those at home. Our producer in the booth will keep the time. Let's jump into the first question, which involves public safety. It's a question that so many people get in this race. What would your administration do differently to improve both the reality and the perception of public safety in the Magic City?
Well, it's going to take a minute to change the perception, but we can begin by changing the reality. Public safety is the issue, not homicides. Our violent crimes have continued to increase. We've got to have a strategy that has to do with dealing with the problems that are in our streets today and making sure that we shut down the hatcheries that produce those problems. That is to say, by strengthening those families and building security to make sure that those children that are being raised in our homes are not going to the streets. We've got to attack it from that side with extracurricular activities for our children. And then we've got to build our police force. There is no solution to crime in Birmingham, Alabama, in public safety that does not come through having a fully staffed police department. I think we are down about 600 police officers right now. We've got to recruit the best and the brightest. We've got to have a clarified vision for what we're doing with our public safety, that our residents once again know the names of the officers and community policing returns. But we've got to have an accepted leader in the forefront and an agreed upon methodology, and that is to say that we understand how we're going to go about it as a community. I dare say that one of the greatest things that we need right now is leadership. We need a leader that is okay with having strong leadership, and we'll bring in the best and the brightest, men and women who have the respect in that career field. So I'm confident that as mayor, that I will recruit the best and they will build a department in which all of us feel safe. And the last thing is this right here. For 10 years, I've gone to the police chief, I've gone to the mayor, and I've asked them, please put regular police officers on the 911. Because right now, it's not an issue of just snitching, it's an issue of we don't have the confidence that those calls are secure. I've been through that myself when I've called 911 because I've heard gunshots in the western area, and people have come to my door saying that the 911 operator has given them all of my information. I didn't mind because I want to live in the kind of community where we look out for one another. But there are people that are afraid. We've got to build that partnership between the police department and all of our residents in spite of political agendas and the like. We've got to build a city that works together for all of us.
Mr. Woodson, thank you, sir. For question number 2, a question about how your administration would both recruit, retain jobs and companies in the Magic City. How would you create more jobs, keep folks who have graduated from local higher education and universities here to fill those jobs? The administration work in that respect.
That question of economic development, first and foremost, we've got to have leadership in the area of economic development who actually understands it. I know that when I go to the EDAA conferences a couple of times a year, they tell us it doesn't matter how beautiful the business district is if the community behind that business district is experiencing decline and collapse. It's got to be a holistic piece in that we've got to develop and clean up the communities behind our business districts. Right now, many of our communities are facing collapse. And so what we've got to do is stabilize that community. I've got experience in working with the Obama administration in 2008 in stabilizing the communities. And then also, I work with the Riley administration in creating the Land Bank Authority. I was the chairman for 4 years. And I know how to stabilize a community, and then I know how to use the land bank in a way to attract those businesses. When I was on the steering committee for Blueprint Birmingham, where we were going as a region with economic development, I met for a year with the CEOs and leaders of this community. In the 11th hour, we took out the small businesses out of the implementation plan, and we also took out the neighborhoods. We've got to put them back in, and at the same time, began to do the workforce development component. That is to say, to partner with the state of Alabama, who I already have relationships with, to create an apprenticeship program. The drugs and the crime and all of that has to do with economic development. Investors want to come to a city that is serious about it and fixing the issues that are on the backside of economic development, which is community development. We'll become a city that is welcoming. I've heard too many stories downtown about businesses coming and the red carpet not being rolled out. We will be a city that takes that economic development department and turns it inside out and say to the small businesses, we're going to figure out a way to cut you in as opposed to exclude you. And 2, those businesses that want to come, our teams will be prepared to come and work with you and plow the way for you to settle into this Birmingham region that we call home.
Mr. Woodson, thank you. Finally, you mentioned, briefly touched on it, but this is actually the subject of our third question, and that is every mayoral cycle we tend to hear from the 99 neighborhoods that make up the city of Birmingham that perhaps too much attention is being paid to the downtown business district and not enough to redevelopment, to reducing blight and empty lots in their neighborhoods and abandoned homes. What would your administration do differently in a concrete manner to both revitalize those neighborhoods while not allowing the downtown business district to suffer?
I think that we have to be a city that can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can be compassionate to the homeless population, but at the same time protect the rights of the businesses, especially those small businesses that have invested their families' earnings to open up a business and to live out their dreams. I'm going to have a Birmingham neighborhood stabilization program. Before you can ever revitalize a community, you have to stabilize it first. 30% of our communities are in decline or neglect. Another 30% are in decline, and another 30% are in collapse phase. We've got to, through the neighborhood stabilization program, we've got to stabilize the community in such a way that it attracts people to come back home. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to take all of these abandoned lots, probably some 30,000 lots, and if it's next door to your house, if you care for it for 6 months to a year, we're going to give you that lot. I know that we can do this because I was chairman of the state's Land Bank Authority. And to our young people that want real affordable housing, we've got 20,000 vacant homes, and we're going to take those vacant homes. We're going to clean the liens off of those homes and the back taxes. We're going to put our young people, our seniors, our veterans into a home ownership program. And whatever the cost is for the rehabilitation, if it's 50,000, 60, 70, 80, that will be your mortgage. That's real affordable rents for working class families. I think we forget sometimes that 175, 240,000 is not affordable mortgages for working class families. I've heard your cries, I've heard your concerns. We're going to make sure that we invest in the people, just like we've invested in a dome, in a stadium, we've invested in an amphitheater. Now it's time for Birmingham to invest in the sons and daughters of the coal miners that made this city great.
Mr. Woodson, thank you for your time. A reminder, Municipal Election Day comes up August the 26th. The polls will open at 7 a.m. and they will close at 7 p.m. And once they do, we will be your local connection for all the results that night. So many races we'll be covering for you. WBRC.com, our WBRC News app, and our live coverage beginning first at 9.
Your community, your elections. WBRC, you decide 2025.
And we at WBRC are committed to giving you all the information you need for Election Day, which is why we've invited all the Birmingham mayoral candidates here to answer the questions that are most important to you. And joining us today is Commissioner LaShunda Scales. Commissioner Scales, thanks for being with us. We'll give you 3 questions, 3 minutes each to answer. The first question surrounds public safety. Birmingham has a perception issue, some would say a reality issue with public safety. What would your administration do differently to try and make streets safer, to protect the public, and also improve the national perception of public safety here?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I will say what we will do differently is, first of all, admit that we do have a crime or violent crime problem. The city of Birmingham, I think, needs to do a much greater effort in making sure that we have a long-term and short-term comprehensive plan as to how to fight crime. In addition to that, I think we need to fund those programs that I know that have been defunded for our youth. Also, our crime prevention programs that I know we need to strengthen. And then in addition to that, we take away this perception that Birmingham is a dangerous place by, first of all, making the citizens at home feel safe. A lot of times I think we're taking for granted that people don't talk to other people in other states, and therefore they form an opinion based upon what's happening at home. When we speak of marketing, you change that effort by making sure that when you have these successes, you are publicizing it. You're making sure that people know we had a problem, and had is the operative word. We had a problem, we saw a solution, we implemented those solutions, and now our city is in a much better place.
Let's talk about jobs, recruiting new jobs, new companies to the Magic City, also retaining college graduates who may call the Magic City home and then decide to go elsewhere once they finish that education. What would a Scales administration do differently to recruit jobs to the area and to keep educated employees in this Magic City?
That's a great question. As a matter of fact, one of the programs or projects that I'm really excited about is that the Coca-Cola plant that the county invested $2 million into a project that is actually in my district. That's 200 and, can we go back?
We can't. We'll keep going, though.
Okay, yes, sir. All right, so there were 750 jobs. I wanted to be accurate in what I'm giving. So we had 750 jobs, and then we had 50 jobs that we saved, in addition to the fact that we were able to increase the footprint in terms of community engagement with Coca-Cola. This is how you win in terms of recruitment, but more importantly, retention, because Coca-Cola was about to leave Birmingham. And so we were able to retain that. How you recruit is new industry. As we have these different educations that are made available now that probably traditionally weren't there when you and I were in college, they are different IT jobs. Matter of fact, we have blue collar jobs when we're talking about data systems and so forth. There are opportunities, but we have to make sure that those professionals know that when you graduate from college, we have a job waiting for you. So that's an opportunity that we will employ as the mayor of the city.
Finally, the question comes up almost every mayoral cycle, and that is this tension between the 99 neighborhoods and downtown business district, right? How would a Scales administration make these 99 neighborhood associations feel felt and seen in terms of weed abatement, blight, housing, paving, all the things they care about, while also tending to the success that is downtown and the financial benefit it provides?
Well, first of all, I've been a neighborhood officer. And the one thing that I do know as being a neighborhood officer is that it's a job that doesn't pay, but it is your greatest investment, I believe, into your community. And so you have to make sure that we expand, meaning that what we're doing in other segments of the city, as the leadership, not to the people who live in those areas, but the leadership has to understand that equity, making every community pair the same with what we're doing downtown and the developments in other communities. And therefore, that's how you take away the tension. More importantly, I think what the issue has always been is that there's been a lack of attention and the disparity is so wide. And we've got to do better. We are required by law to make sure that we provide 7 basic city services, and those services should be distributed partially because everyone pays taxes. So you're more than just a voter, you are a taxpayer. And under Scales administration, those 99 neighborhoods will then begin to get a breath of fresh air because we know that what works in one community certainly is eligible and applicable to another.
Commissioner Scales, thanks for your time. A reminder,
Absolutely.
those municipal elections come up on August the 26th. Polls will open 7 a.m., close at 7 p.m. And once they do, make sure you've got WBRC.com or the WBRC News app ready, where we'll have those live election results. You can also live stream our election coverage, which will begin that night, first at 9.
Your community, your elections. WBRC, you decide 2025.
And we are committed at WBRC to give you all the information you need for Election Day, which is why we've invited all Birmingham mayoral candidates to join us here and answer questions most important to you. Joining us today is Mr. Brian K. Rice. Mr. Rice, thanks for joining us. And again, so the audience knows, we'll have 3 minutes to answer each of these next 3 questions. There's questions that were not shared with you prior to now. We'll be timing those in the booth and then ask each of those as we have to all of the candidates. The first one is about public safety, and both the perception and the reality of public safety in Birmingham has been a challenge at times. What would the Rice administration do differently to increase public safety, both as a reality and the wider perception?
Well, definitely thank you for the question. My concern is there is a perception that crime is down, but I think we need to look at it from a historical point of view. In the first 8 years of Richard Ayrton, Mayor Ayrton, first 8 years of Bernard Kincaid, and the first 8 years of Mayor William Bell, their homicides were in the 600s. Mayor Richard Ayrton was over 100,000 more people in the city. Under the Mayor Woodfin administration, it is approaching 1,000. Over the last year, we've seen a lot of perception around crime is down, but we've also seen it go up 130 or 140%. So we're judging the number based off of the worst year ever when we say it's 50% down. So the perception is that it's down. We've seen a lot of celebrities jump into the conversation, and I'm extremely concerned about that. It's almost as if we're dismissing the homicides and the lives that have been lost. So I want to make sure we address the reality. And it's very important that we are honest about the situation on the ground. My thoughts, well, first of all, we must always try to fully staff the police department. What are we doing to promote outside of the city to recruit more officers? What are we doing inside the city to promote recruiting more officers? The other thing, I am super big on crime prevention. My background is a lot of trades, a lot of construction, a lot of engineering, but a ton of mentoring. I want to make sure we focus on how do we alter the destructive path before that next person breached the law. We have to reach the mind of the man or the woman or the young boy or the young girl before they make the next mistake. We have to figure out a way to not just keep adding more gun laws. Recently, we've added more laws, for example, the Glock switch laws. For me, if you just add more laws, we're already the 5th most incarcerated place in the world, and that's the state of Alabama. And in Birmingham, we're locking a lot of people up, but it's not improving the crime conditions or the violent conditions. We have to figure out a way to reach more people before. One of the things I love about the police or the Crime Commission report, they brought in the former police chief, and it focused a lot on bringing police athletic teams back. So I'm thankful that that is presented back. I'm a product of the Hoover City Police Athletic Teams. There used to be other teams at the other housing projects, and I want to make sure we invest back into recreational opportunities. But since I'm super big on skill development, professional development, I want to make sure there's an emphasis on trades, on entrepreneurship development, on tech development that reaches both the adult and the youth. What I mean by that.
Sorry, that's our 3 minutes on that.
Okay.
Well, we could perhaps touch on that in question number 2, which is about recruiting jobs and retaining student talent in this area. What would your Rice administration do to bring in more jobs to Birmingham and also keep homegrown students from leaving once they complete their education?
We must show our city that we support local business. We must show them that we support the young professional. We must be honest about that. I'm a product, like many others, where we feel as though there's a lot of barriers when it comes to developing in certain parts of the city. We must show that. We must be honest about that. The thing that I want to do, one of the first tasks that I want to do, maybe within the first 100 days, maybe within the first 30 days, I want to call a meeting with all business owners that are available. And so you're going to have those who may be in the thriving areas of near downtown, but then you have these outer line areas where we need to meet with all of them as soon as possible and have a real conversation. What is it going to take to help you grow jobs? What is it going to take you to help restore these buildings? Because if our business owners in these outer line areas cannot restore their buildings, then there will be no new businesses in them. There will be no new jobs in them. And if there are no new jobs in them, then we're not supporting the mother, the father, that working teenager, and we're not supporting, and then those that live in that house are not able to use those funds to support the youth in that family or the community. So I'm very, I want to make sure we focus on the business owners that are here. I want to make sure we invest heavily in local business first. I'm extremely concerned that I've seen a lot of contracts go to friends in Atlanta and other places. I want to make sure our local business get a chance first. I am committed to making sure we have a chance before those in other states have a chance.
Finally, Mr. Rice, the question that comes up so often in mayoral election cycles is this tension between the 99 neighborhoods in the downtown area. Many of the 99 neighborhoods feel perhaps overlooked sometimes when it comes to paving, abandoned homes, weed abatement, things like that. What would the Rice administration do differently to empower those neighborhoods while also not ignoring the necessity of the success of downtown?
Thank you for that question. What I love about that question is we would never try to stop progress. Downtown, there is significant progress. There's been progress for a couple administrations, so we will support the businesses that are there. But any policies, any plans, anything that's written in that comprehensive plan, anything that's written in these framework plans that says we're going to focus more on demolition in these outlying areas versus development or redevelopment of lots, we must stop that. We must balance development over demolition. So that's one thing that I'm extremely concerned about. I'm also extremely concerned about essential services. I'm concerned about the amount of staff that's in public works. So let's make sure we properly support public works. If we cannot hire fast enough because of HR personnel rules, then let's take those funds and support local contractors so we can reach the areas just as successfully or just as well.
Excellent. Mr. Rice, thank you for your time. A reminder, the municipal election day is August the 26th, and you can watch us live beginning at 9 with our complete coverage there. And as soon as the polls close, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Once those polls close, make sure you have WBRC.com and the WBRC News app for all those results as we get them. And you can live stream our coverage, again, starting first at 9.
Your community, your elections. WBRC, you decide 2025.
And we at WBRC are committed to giving you all the information you need ahead of Election Day. That's why we've invited all the Birmingham mayoral candidates here to answer the questions most important to you. And joining us today is Mr. Camus Africa. Mr. Africa, thanks for your time. We'll ask you each question. You'll have 3 minutes to respond, starting with the question of public safety. Birmingham has an issue perception-wise, certainly with public safety, perhaps with reality of it as well. What would your administration do differently to improve the reality and the perception of public safety in the Magic City?
First of all, we can't have a city without safety, and we're facing a scenario of a Mad Max. Under my administration, had I been in office, what happened in 5 Points South that went all over national media would never have happened. First of all, I would have always have had a police presence. That's very important. In my administration, if I get there, I will have, I want a command from a 500 to 800 patrol force. I mean, foot patrol, not sitting behind a desk. It's important. Bicycles, on foot, as well as cars and horseback. That perception will leave as soon as people see that you have a police presence. How will I get those police? Well, it's real simple. They don't have a very good insurance plan. I will make sure that we get one that's comparable to New York or Dallas. They got excellent benefits. I'll make sure they'll be able to drive their cars home. There's even a mortgage program that has worked in other cities. You have to recruit good police officers that know how to fill out a police report, that are courteous to people, to everyone, and I will make sure that we get the best police officers. I want them, hopefully, to live in the city of Birmingham. That would be one condition by which, if they want a mortgage paid, that is what they would have to do. Taking the cars home gives a presence in the community. It's very important. And my priority is protecting the business districts and the enterprise and entertainment districts, absolutely.
Second question to you, sir, is about the issue of recruiting more jobs and retaining college graduates who may be from this area and choose to leave elsewhere. What would your administration do to recruit more companies, more jobs to Birmingham, and also keep the homegrown talent as they graduate from college or post-secondary education?
I'm a Birmingham Southern College graduate, also attended Miles and Sanford. I grew up in Smithfield, which is basically a middle-class community, so I came up in a combination of working and middle class and professional. I was at the forefront of trying to get Birmingham Southern to sell to Alabama A&M, which would have created a wealth class here, increased the middle class. I wanted to promote A&M because they're the most fiscally sound HBCU in the nation. We could have gotten a combination of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And I think the reason that many of our elected officials stayed silent is because their coattails were pulled. Nobody was up there in front of the cameras other than me. I put signs up trying to promote A&M. And so what I will do, if we don't sell that Birmingham Southern College campus real soon, I've gotten some rumors, I'm going to push for the $5 million to be given back to the community. We must have an educated class of people and bring back dignity, self-respect, community pride in order to move this whole city forward. If we don't, we are in trouble. We cannot just have a slave class make a minimum wage of 15, we need at least 15 minimal and maybe $18 for just general working people.
Excellent, sir. The final question is about the issue of neighborhood associations. Many of the 99 neighborhoods at times every mayoral election say, hey, we feel overlooked. We feel like there's more attention paid to the downtown district than perhaps there are to our neighborhoods, whether it's abandoned houses, weeds, paving, you name it. What would your administration do to make those neighborhoods feel seen and perhaps supported while not ignoring the success and the crucial nature of downtown?
I was a neighborhood president. I know the significance of having access to capital. I know the significance of listening to people, understanding. I may not always agree, but I'll do whatever I have to do to make sure that every community is treated and looking like mine. I live in a neighborhood called Dynamite Hill, which is at the top of the center street, and it's clean, it's very quiet, it's safe. In fact, after the children are picked up from school from Wilkerson, it's so quiet you rarely see or hear a car. I'm going to make sure that we have officers have decibel meters to make sure that we cut down on people coming through with extremely loud music. I'm going to give The people that want to do exhibition driving, I'm gonna build a track for them after I annex Forestdale and Brighton, where we can expand Industrial Park. We don't want them to go to prison nor leave or lose their cars. I'm gonna make neighborhoods safe, quiet, and clean. Make no mistake about it. I would do things that are totally off the chain and thinking out of the box like Larry Langford did. That's why they call me Larry Langford 2.0.
Mr. Africa, thank you so much for your time. Remember, Municipal Election Day comes up August the 26th. The polls will open 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. We will be your source for those local results on election night. Make sure you've got the WBRC News app or WBRC.com, where you can live stream our coverage with the results beginning first at 9. All right, now you've heard from all of those candidates. You decide in the Birmingham mayoral election, which comes up next Tuesday, August the 26th. Polls open at 7 a.m., close at 7 p.m., and of course right here on WBRC.com, our WBRC News app. And first at 9 will be all of your chances to get those latest results as we begin to get them in. Who will lead the Magic City for the next 4 years? We're going to find out together. Are we heading for a runoff? A question we'll answer all together next Tuesday, August the 26th. For now, thanks for joining us.